And that is it. We are ready to begin. So I will let you all take it away.
Okay, well, I guess I'm going to ask the first question, which is, I don't live near my children and grandchildren. Are there ways that I can celebrate Hanukkah with them from a distance?
So just to let everyone know, Rabbi Malka and I are going to be taking turns. If everyone can make sure they're on mute, everybody on mute. I'm not sure why. That's much better. Thank you. Rabbi Malka and I are going to take turn answering questions. And then if one of us has something to add to what the other has said, we'll do so. So I have the first question. And I first want to just say in relation to this and probably everything else we say, and I feel like a broken record, anyone who's heard me before has heard this, there are no best practices for being in an interfaith family, just like there's no best practices for anything else in a family. There are the best practices for your family at a given time. So as far as if you live far away from your children and grandchildren, there are great ways. I mean, we're all on Zoom right now, so you're all capable of using Zoom, which is awesome. You could light the candles every night with your grandchild on Zoom, assuming, and I think this is really important, that it's okay with the parents. You know, you have to remember as a grandparent that there's this generation in between you and the grandkids, and one of them is your child. And at times it can be frustrating, but your child may not always want to do or agree to what you want. I think it's really important to be respectful of what your child does want, because you want to maintain hopefully a good relationship with your child and your grandchildren as well. But assuming they're okay with it, there are lots of things you can do virtually. You could perhaps make plans, you know, depending on the age of the grandchild, to, you know, send them a note that in the spring when we're together, we'll go to an amusement park or something that they enjoy doing that you can do together. So you can plan something really fun. Or I know they have like Hanukkah boxes with different gifts. Maybe each night, like you could cook together or bake together, but separately. You know, again, these things are done on Zoom now all the time. We live in a world where, you know, most kids are used to being virtual. Depending on their age, they've probably done school virtually by now. So of course, it's more fun to do these things in person with your grandchild, but if that's not a possibility, I think that doing them virtually is a nice second best. Another thing that could be really nice is, and you may have heard, sometimes people for Hanukkah will give children one night like a check and say, they probably don't know what a check is, but say, I'll make a donation to any organization that's important to you. And even with a little child, like, what do you like? Do you like PJ Library? You know, let's give some money to PJ Library so other kids can get books too. And that's something that you could talk about with them on the phone or on Zoom and decide together and explain that that's their gift for that evening. But, you know, whether it's sending little things in advance that they might open each night with you on Zoom, or even asking your child to pick up some little things. My 15-year-old who likes very expensive things, but she also loves little things from Five Below. Last year, she told me she was very upset, like the 5th night of Hanukkah. She goes, you know, I know you gave us like a big thing or whatever, but I want something every night. Like, can't you just go to Five Below and get me little silly things? So, you know, even like little small things, just the opening of them can be really exciting for kids and grandkids of any age. And again, it's not the same, but I think virtual is a good backup.
Yeah, and one thing I'd love to add is even just notes, right? Like, it doesn't even have to be an emphasis on gifts. Like, of course, you probably want to give gifts and they're not going to be sad if they get them. But like writing a full letter that they get in the mail every day is so cool, right? Because people send so few. There's just not much mail. I don't know. Every time I check the mail, I'm like, ugh, bills. But how cool would that be to get like a card from your grandparent every single day? And another thing is, I can just share my own family. My parents are in town for a couple of days right now. So we're not going to see them for Thanksgiving or Hanukkah this year. So we're celebrating Hanukkah now, you know, so they're giving gifts to my 2-year-old this week. She's 2, so she doesn't really know when Hanukkah is and doesn't really care about that piece. But, you know, so you celebrate it a week before or a month later or, you know, a few months later. There's different ways that you can celebrate it. You know, even growing up, I remember when I'd go to college, like, couldn't come home for the first night of Passover. So we'd celebrate it like that weekend, you know, so I think that creativity around timing is really important too.
In our family tradition for Hanukkah, we always played hot and cold. So we always hid the present and the kids had to find it. And now our kids do the same thing, but trust me, you can do that on Zoom, because we did it during the pandemic. And the kids, you know where every room is in your kid's house, and you can just have them hide the present and guide them to find it. And it's a lot of fun. So now on to the next question, which is the big question, which is, I don't understand. My child has a strong Jewish identity and has decided with their partner that they're going to raise their kids Jewish. So why do they have a Christmas tree? Isn't that hypocritical?
That is a great question. There's so many pieces to that question, right? The first one is understanding, like, why did your kid decide to have a Christmas tree in their home, right? If they're choosing to stick with their Jewish identity and have a Jewish home and raise their kids Jewish, but their partner's not Jewish, I'm assuming probably Christian if they're having a Christmas tree, why are they having that Christmas tree? And so the first thing that comes to mind for me with that question is practicing curiosity. Asking, tell me more about, what does the Christmas tree mean for you? What does it mean for your partner? What does it mean to have it in your home? Like, from a really genuinely kind, curious place, not in a judgy, why do you have a Christmas tree in your home, right? Because that's going to shut people down, but really just finding out, because the truth is every family is going to have a different reason, right? So for some families, they're going to have a Christmas tree in their home because the partner who grew up Christian is going to want to have it because that was what they grew up with, right? This is the time of year when they always had a Christmas tree, and it's really special, and it might have nothing to do with the birth of Jesus. It might really just be winter or American or just beautiful ornaments that were passed down in their family. I know a lot of partners who are Christian want to have that Christmas tree because they have all these ornaments that were from their grandparents or that they made when they were a kid, and it's just fun to hang it up. They might like just the lights. It's really beautiful. But so often I think it's really just, that was the tradition that they grew up with, and it's really meaningful, and it's something they want to share with their family, as this is what their tradition is. So it doesn't mean that all of a sudden the kid who's Jewish is Christian. It just means they're helping their other parent celebrate a holiday or a tradition or part of their culture that's really important for them. So I think it's also good to know that your child is being a really supportive partner, right? So they're saying to their partner, hey, I love you and I support you and I want to help you celebrate your tradition, your holiday, in a way that's meaningful for you. So it doesn't mean it's a whole family tradition. It's just helping their partner celebrate that tradition. And then lastly, it's just, what does the Christmas tree mean for people, right? Like I was saying, so often, especially for the interfaith couples I work with, has nothing to do with religion. And sometimes it does, and that's me too. But just find out, like, yeah, just what does that tree mean for you? And tell me about these ornaments. Just practice that curiosity to make that partner feel like and embraced by you. Because I think a lot of all of the conversation we're having today is about relationship building, right? So if we're trying to build relationships, coming in with judgment and fear is not going to build that relationship, but coming in from a place of just curiosity and trying to understand really helps your child and their partner feel loved and seen and supported in a way that's so powerful.
Yeah, I just want to emphasize something you said, that when someone's in an interfaith relationship, just like any other relationship, there are compromises that you make as a couple that sometimes might be uncomfortable for one partner. And it's very easy for us as kind of the Jewish side to judge anything that's not comfortable Jewishly. But we have to remember that there's another partner in that relationship as well, who comes with a whole background and a whole history. And as Malka said, it might be a religious thing for them, or it might be something, just a great memory is often the case that they want to hold on to. And your child has made that compromise with someone they love. And that's what I do think, if you can ask them in a non-judgmental way and learn that. But, whatever their reasoning was, that it can't always just be one partner making all the compromises. And, sometimes I think that's hard for the Jewish side of the family to understand, or minority, or this. They said they're going to raise the kids Jewish, but someone else still comes with their own life and their own background and their own story. And then one other small piece, I was with some of the rabbinic fellows that I work with today, and one of them said, it's totally out of the blue, not even knowing about this program, I think the thing I really that stands out that I've gotten out of this fellowship, and this gentleman has been a rabbi for over 20 years, is like, I'm not so against Christmas trees anymore. He said, I used to just think like it was horrible if my congregants had a hit Christmas tree. And now I've come to respect that it's a lot, it's a lot deeper than that, a lot more complicated. And they can be a really involved Jewish family and have a Christmas tree. And, you know, for a rabbi to come to that after, you know, having trouble with that all those years was just really amazing to me and really beautiful.
That's really sweet. I actually just thought of another thing that I forgot. I actually have some interfaith couples where the Jewish partner is really excited to finally be able to have a Christmas tree, right? They grew up in this American society where they felt very othered and very much like, wow, all my neighbors and friends and community members have Christmas trees and I wish I could have one. And I can't tell you how many couples I've had. I don't know, maybe it's because I'm in Atlanta, we're in the South. Like I've had a lot of couples where the Jewish partner's like, yes, I finally get to have that Christmas tree I always wanted. And sometimes they're the ones who take the initiative to put up the tree. And again, it's not a religious thing. It doesn't make them any less Jewish. It's just like, it's a sign of winter for them or a sign of beauty. And they just love decorating their home with something that feels really beautiful and makes them feel part of the American culture. You know, so for so many couples, it's just about being part of the American culture. It's not even a religious thing or a cultural thing, or like a Christian culture thing. So it's just interesting, like all the different reasons why people choose to have a Christmas tree and what those conversations were like between the members of the couple.
Right. But for some reason, as a Jewish grandparent, this is always the thing that wrenches at your heart, especially the first grandchild. So now we have 6 grandchildren, and the first one, my husband and I, we stood on ceremony. Oh my God, we're not going to be part of this. This is them. Let them do their thing. And you know, you learn it's like Malka said and Robyn, it's not a big deal. It's one time a year, and it happens to be a lot of fun. So you got to like kind of suck it up the first time and become part of the whole thing. And it's not so scary. It doesn't make them less Jewish. I mean, all my grandkids are going to day school and they still have a Christmas tree, and they'll always have a Christmas tree because it's just part of their tradition. Okay, moving on. How do I invite my child's family to do something together for Hanukkah in a way that won't feel pushy or like I have an agenda? Or some other grandparents have expressed that their grandkids celebrate Christmas at home, but only one day of Hanukkah with them. How can they make Hanukkah feel more special?
Am I muted?
No.
Okay. This would have been hard to answer. So first of all, I think the first part of that is not feeling pushy or like you have an agenda, is to make sure you're not being pushy and you don't have an agenda, and to really evaluate that and make sure to consider what is your motive, and to try to work through that on your own first, and then to be honest with your child. And then I think, again, it's important to go through your children and not go straight to the grandkids and say, oh, we're going to have you all over for Hanukkah. One of my teachers used to always say, and I quote him a lot, don't become super Jew if you weren't super Jew before. Like if you didn't celebrate Shabbat ever, don't start having Shabbat every week and start inviting your kid over just because they're in an interfaith relationship. It's okay, of course, to reclaim your Judaism. You know, as a rabbi, I think that's wonderful. And celebrating Hanukkah is certainly a terrific thing. And most people probably would not have any issue with their kids celebrating it with you. But I think, you know, like before, be honest with yourself and with your children, and say what you're going to do. And, you know, Hanukkah is pretty simple. I think it's pretty non-threatening to most people, you know, as long as you're, you know, we talk about all the time, if you're trying to compete with Christmas, you're going to lose. So don't even bother. It's just not Christmas. You know, they're not supposed to be the same, but Hanukkah is a wonderful, beautiful holiday. So, and even on years where they overlap, you've got 7 other nights. Don't invite them December 24th or even the 25th, probably would not be appropriate. Pick a different night, spend it together, and then do something fun. You know, again, have a good meal, have latkes, do the Hanukkah thing, make it really Hanukkah. And I think most children would not mind that, and most grandchildren would enjoy that and find it something special. And you know, whatever, again, you know your grandkid and your children the best of what would make it special for them. But I think a meal that's different, of, you know, whether it's just regular food they like and then latkes, or something, sufganiyot, the jelly donuts, or again, you might want to make it with them. You might want to do some Hanukkah decoration, just special blue and white things that you can now get even like the dollar store and Five Below. But you know, as long as you're being honest with yourself, I think, about what your purpose is, then it can be wonderful, and you can have a wonderful Hanukkah holiday celebration with your family.
something that was just coming to mind for me around all of this is kind of zooming back to remember big picture about holidays. So something I've noticed a lot over the years is the biggest difference between, or not the biggest, a difference that between Christianity and Judaism is a lot of Jewish practices are in the home, right? We light Shabbat candles every week at the home. We light Hanukkah candles at home. We have Passover seders in our homes. We do so many things in our homes. And in the Christian community, most things are in the church, right? Except for Christmas. That's like their one home holiday. So, to see this as like we're competing with the one big holiday can be really challenging. So to take away that idea of competition or feeling threatened by it, like this is the one holiday that's really spent in home. I mean, plenty of families also go to church as well, but that's the one thing, like the Christmas tree is in the house, the ornaments, all of that stuff is in the home. But like, if you look at any other Christian holiday, most of those are really church-based and outside of the home. So that's just something that, big picture, not necessarily just around this question, but just in general, to remember that, especially for the Christian partner, this is the one time that they get to like celebrate their, again, their religion, their culture, whatever it means for them in their actual home space. And Christmas is like that big holiday. It's the one day that's really off for everybody. Everything's shut down. Hanukkah is a minor holiday in the Jewish tradition. So it's also, good to remember those differences between the holidays.
We do this big Hanukkah family thing with all of the in-laws, all of the Jewish, non-Jewish, everybody. And we started at Thanksgiving where everybody, we talk about it. We pick the date on Thanksgiving and then everybody just gets a gift. And we do the whole gift exchange thing where everybody could take the gift and, having the in-laws in that are not Jewish and, giving them the latkes and sharing the holiday makes it just really special and really fun for everybody. So, we're not competing with Christmas. We'll never win, but it's still a great time. Okay, the next one. Is it okay for me to share with my child that I'm uncomfortable with them having Christmas, that I'm uncomfortable with them having a Christmas tree, leaving cookies out for Santa, singing Christmas carols, etc.? I find this very upsetting, but how do I tell them without putting a strain on our relationship?
It's a really good question. I think really what's important to remember with that question is what, right? So whenever you tell someone that you're uncomfortable with what they're doing, regardless of if it's about how they're celebrating a holiday or how they're raising their kids or how they chose to buy this particular home or, whatever their choices are, what's your purpose in telling them that you're uncomfortable with that decision, right? Are you trying to control it and change it? Or are you trying to share what's going on for you? So if it's just about controlling, maybe look at what are your intentions. But, a nice way to say it could be, I respect your choices and I just want you to know where I'm coming from. Or it could be, maybe biting your tongue for the year and seeing like, let me just see how this goes, watch it unfold and maybe have a conversation another time. But again, I think this always goes back to relationship building. So if this is going to put a strain on your relationship with your child and your child-in-law and your grandkids, look at, what's your purpose in this, right? It's not necessarily going to change their behavior. So what are you hoping to gain from that kind of a conversation? They probably know how you feel about holidays. If you raised them and were really expressive their entire lives before they got married, there's probably not going to be a big surprise about what your thoughts and feelings and values are. So I think it's always important to just look at what's your purpose? What's your intention?
And I'll echo what you said before, Rabbi Malka, when you were talking about like coming at it with curiosity is very different, but curiosity is not, how uncomfortable I am with this, or I didn't raise you like this, why are you doing it? That's passive aggressive. But, if you are genuinely curious, that's different than, I think you're right. Otherwise, they probably know how you feel. And sometimes it's hard to bite your tongue. Sometimes it's really hard, but it can be a lot healthier for the relationship.
It's my advice. Just suck it up because you're not going to win. And you just have to go with the flow. And once you do, it's not scary. It'll all work out fine. Okay, next question. My grandkids get lots of Christmas gifts. To balance things out, should I send them lots of Hanukkah gifts? What if they aren't into Hanukkah gift giving, but I don't feel comfortable giving them Christmas gifts?
So, as I said before, if your goal is to compete, which I think is a natural inclination, you're going to lose, so don't bother. There are so many other times a year you can give your grandkids gifts besides their birthday or other special time. You want to give their half birthday or when you see them, there are plenty of opportunities for that. But, I think it's totally, if you're not comfortable giving Christmas gifts, I totally understand that and respect that and would say, then you shouldn't. But if the parents don't want them getting Hanukkah gifts, I think that's, you might not like that, but that's their choice to make. And so you then have a choice. Do I want to give them Christmas gifts? And understandably, if you don't, then you just don't do that.
And I think this again goes back to open communication and conversation. So making sure you're really clear on what the parents want for the child, right? And even like what the gifts are. I know even my family, my parents always ask, like, what does your kid want? What does she need right now? Like having that conversation. Oh, I think I just froze. I don't know if you could still hear me. Sorry, my internet's terrible. It's like kind of stuck. But having that conversation about what gifts can I give? How many can I give? What is there something that in particular that they want or need? And again, yes, maybe it's not on Hanukkah. Maybe it's the gift of time together. For us, my parents asked, what does your daughter want? And I said, she actually doesn't need anything. She's 2, she has plenty of toys. I said, but you know what? She would love a yoga kid class. Can you buy her lessons? And that's what they're getting her, and she's going to be super excited for that. So, the gifts don't have to be competitive and they don't have to be big and glitzy and they don't have to be tangible. They can be time together. They can be activities. But I think, again, always goes back to having that communication with your kids.
And I used to, in the beginning, my husband and I said, you know what, we're not getting them Christmas gifts. Let them get their own, let them do. And, then they would have a big tree. We'd go to their house. There would be a million presents under the tree, and after a while we just said, what are we not going to give them any presents? I mean, we have to give them. So we give them Hanukkah presents. We give them Christmas presents. It's just more gifts for them. But, we want to be part of everything. You want to be part of their life. And it just makes it that much more special. And you know what? Christmas is really fun. So
I think also like there's the idea of like religion and spirituality, right? And like what, giving your kids Christmas gifts doesn't mean that you are going to midnight mass with them, although midnight mass is beautiful. I like it. I happen to like rituals, not surprisingly. It doesn't mean anything more than the part you're partaking of, which is certainly the non-religious part of it. Now, some families, Christmas is very secular for them, but it's meaningful. And for others, it's very religious. But there are ways you can partake in it that aren't the religious part and just being a family member who cares about them and loves them.
Okay. Is it appropriate for me to invite my child's partner's parents for Hanukkah? And if they invite me for Christmas, do I have to go? If I'm uncomfortable going, how do I tell them that I don't want to celebrate Christmas with them without offending them?
Interesting question. So the first question I say is, yeah, you can invite anyone to anything, right? And they can always say no. So you can say, I'm having this Hanukkah celebration. I want to show you my tradition and share it with you. And they can choose if they want to partake in that or not. So I think that's always a lovely thing to ask. If you're uncomfortable going to a Christmas celebration, I think, again, it's always important to look at what's your reason. Do you feel threatened? Are you scared? Maybe practice openness and say, what? I want to support my kid and their part making you uncomfortable around this. Like, take some time to explore that before responding. And if it really just feels like I cannot show up for this, this is just too much for me. Being clear about that and using I statements, really talking about your discomfort. But I think it's so important to just be open, and really see, like, maybe it's not going to be as scary as you think. Maybe it's not going to be as threatening as you think. And the more you can support your child and their partner, the more you're going to be building that relationship with them. And then as far as sharing your own Hanukkah traditions, I think that's always a nice thing to say, this is going to be a special experience. I want to share my traditions with you. I want to show you what I do. But then it needs to be reciprocal. If you're open to having them, I think it's important to show up to their home and see what they're, what their traditions look like.
Yeah, I find that my the in-laws really love coming for all the holidays. I mean, they love Passover, they love Rosh Hashanah, they just love learning about these beautiful traditions, and Hanukkah's another one. And they really, if you invite them, they really enjoy coming. And going to them, it's the same thing. I mean, you might be uncomfortable the first time going to a Christmas dinner, but after you go the first time, it's totally fine. Okay. My child's partner's parents invite me for Christmas, and I do want to go, but will my showing up give my grandkids mixed messages?
So this kind of was already addressed, but I don't think so at all. I think there's a difference between being that religion and being a guest. And we live in America, and we live in a world where there are lots of religions and people, all kinds of different people. And in the world we live in right now, all kinds of different people marry different kinds of people. But you can be at a Christmas dinner and it doesn't make you Christian. It makes you the Jewish grandparent who is with their family for dinner. If you're kosher, you're not going to eat ham. And if you're not kosher, you might eat ham. And it's sharing in someone's food and experience and holiday. If there are religious things that are happening, you may not partake in it, but as you may not say grace or certain things like that, but you're there sharing a meal and having a wonderful time, and hopefully, with your hopefully your in-laws that you hopefully have a nice relationship with, and your children and people that you care about. And so, I would say it's fun. I find it fascinating to experience other people's holidays. And yes, it's often more challenging when those people are your close relatives. I totally understand that it's different to go to your friends for Christmas than it is to go to your in-laws. But whatever challenges you have, hopefully you can work on working through them and be able to celebrate with them their holiday. And I don't think I think kids are much smarter and nuanced than we think. And if they know that you're the Jewish grandparents, attending a Christmas dinner in today's world is not going to undermine that in any possible way. They might just show them that their grandparents get along, which is a great thing.
Right.
And I'm going to interrupt for 1 second. Oh, sorry. We are going to switch over to live questions soon. Are you almost through with these? Do you want to switch over? Do you want to just wrap up for a couple more minutes?
This was our last question. So unless I think
Okay,
Malka's going to add something, and then we'll go.
Malka, wrap it up, and then we'll switch over to live.
Sorry, my internet is terrible, so I missed the last thing you said, Lindsay.
Go ahead, Malka.
Okay. So now I just forgot what I was going to say. Hold on 1 second. Oh, an analogy I've heard a lot, which I have mixed feelings about, but I think it might be helpful for some people, is this idea of celebrating someone's birthday, right? When you go to someone's birthday party, you're helping them celebrate their birthday. It doesn't mean it's all of a sudden your birthday and it's everyone's birthday in the room. You're helping them celebrate their birthday. And I think it's a nice way to explain to kids how you're helping your family celebrate Christmas. Christmas isn't your holiday. It's not your grandparents' holiday. It's just a nice way to say, yeah, I'm helping you celebrate your holiday. And my grandparents are helping you celebrate your holiday. And my one parent is helping you celebrate your holiday. And we're going to give you gifts, and we're going to talk about it and celebrate. And I think it's just a nice way to help, because they understand birthday celebrations for sure.